Hello there, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. As you can see, I've got a shoebox full of scraps left over from my Heritage quilt project, and it's going to take me a while to get through these, but my strategy is to make 9-inch blocks from these scraps. For this scrap block today, I decided to take some time and sort my scraps into sizes and maybe get some uniform sizes. So I did have some squares that I had cut for the quilt itself that were the wrong size, or I cut too many. So I'm just sorting those out. I've got those 3.5-inch squares, I've got some 2 and some 4-inch, but I'm looking to get some uniform sizes from all these scraps. I found some 4 patches and some 9 patches, and I cut those down to the next smallest size that I was sorting into. For bigger scraps that I didn't consider to be exactly yardage, I cut those down into uniform sizes as well and added those to my piles. Sometimes when I'm looking for a little scrap inspiration, I go to my Barbara Brackman encyclopedia and I'm looking at the 4 patches section, just looking to see if I can find anything that would be interesting to do with these scraps that I have that are already cut to certain widths. I thought the maple leaf blocks looked like they could work, but then I saw this little block up in the top left corner and I thought, oh, that could work. I have squares, I have little tiny strips. Let's just see what happens with that. I already have some of these little 4 patches that I trimmed down, and they are uniform in size, so I thought, well, that would be an interesting corner feature for these strips. So I started with one of my 3.5-inch squares, and I found some strips that matched these little 4 patches. They're the same size. I'm going to want that 4 patch on the corner, so I'm going to need a strip on the top and a strip on the side. The first thing I did was stitch a little bit of strip alongside on one side of my little 3.5-inch square. Next, I stitched my cute little 4 patch to a piece of the same colored strip. I pressed those seams flat, and then I stitched this additional little strip right to the top edge of my beige 3.5-inch square with that additional strip. I made sure to nest that seam before I stitched. And again, after every addition of fabric, I did press my seams nice and flat. I'm going to keep adding fabric to those same 2 sides, leaving my beige square on the lower left corner of this block. So here you see I've added a strip on the right hand side, and I've changed colors to this brown. For the corner unit here, I decided to just use a plain turquoise blue fabric. So I'm going to stitch that to my little brown strip, press that seam open, and then I will stitch that. Again, I'm going to nest the seam. For the next side, I decided to go with a little bit wider strip of fabric, and this is in my background color. It's just a kind of an ivory color. I have some matching scrap 4 patches that are the same size as these beige strips. So I joined those 2 pieces, pressed the seam nice and flat, and then joined that strip to the top of my block, again nesting the one seam that needs to match. This block is already super cute. I'm really liking it, but I do need one more layer to get to my 9-inch square measurement. I found another little cast off from a little unit that went wrong for me, and I added the strip of the turquoise fabric. Then I stitched that little unit to another strip of this same turquoise fabric, and then added that strip to the top of the block. My block still was not quite big enough, so I added 1 turquoise strip on the right and 1 turquoise strip on the bottom. I did trim away the bulky overhanging pieces before I press these seams flat. Next, it was time to trim the block to 9 inches. I used my clear ruler to lay exactly where I wanted this 9-inch trim to be so that I would keep as many of my features as I could. Well, this block was super easy, and I was happy that I had those leftover little 4 patches and other little units that I had cut incorrectly before. I feel like they added a nice little feature to this block. I think it's super cute, and I still am in love with the turquoise, the browns, the sand colors. I don't think I'll ever get tired of looking at these colors. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you back again real soon.